Okay. You guys still there?
Yeah, I'm still.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you guys some questions. Am I talking to a AJ and Shani?
Hi.
Yeah,
So,
my name's AJ, but
okay,
like
okay.
it's an online alias. My actual name's Jack.
Well, I'm just going by what I see on Discord, so
Yeah, I'm just. You can call me Jack.
Oh, my
okay.
food's burning. Hold on.
Okay, so I'd like to talk to you guys about the flat Earth belief. Well, I say belief. I know a lot of people get critical about using those words, but I mean the aspect of something that you are an advocate for to be more concrete. And I'd like to ask a few questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. Thanks
Okay.
for asking.
So, my first question is why do you believe or follow the flat earth concept or an advocate for the flat earth concept to be more concrete?
All right. So if you know about any basic history, like obviously in early ancient Egypt, during the Mesopotamian era, there was actually some mythology and religious texts which stated that the world was flat, and further on into that during pyramids and like when they decided to uncover the pyramids, the cosmology of the pyramids decided like it showed um obviously things such as images of the earth being flat and like just general scriptures of the earth being flat, showing that the ancient civilizations most likely believed that the earth was flat. And if the ancient civilizations were doing things such as building pyramids, building infrastructure like that, I'm more inclined to believe in the fact that the earth would be flat rather than obviously what modern day society has, as we can do stuff like barely even build houses, can barely even do this. So you know what I mean? It's just a case of flat Earth is the real Earth. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're saying that the aspects of, I'm thinking documentation, but that might not be the right word to use. You're explaining that in ancient Egypt, there were aspects of presentations of the concept of a flat Earth that identifies the Earth being flat, obviously, and that's something that you're that you're basically referring to.
Yes.
Okay.
Because like there was also like several philosophers at the time, such as like Thales, Lysippicus, Demetricus, who all believed things such as the Earth was flat and
Okay.
we lived on a just the surface version of the Earth. We lived in the Middle Earth. So like there's things such as an ice wall, which is believed to be Antarctica, and like that it was almost causing like us to be trapped within the confines of this flat earth. So like essentially if you are to like go across towards Antarctica, you would see like things such as obviously like more it's like kind of like have you ever seen the map of Lord of the Rings?
I've seen the maps from Lord of the Rings, yes.
So it's kind of similar to that if you have seen them before. So like
Okay.
you
Okay.
see, it's those things such as like because like for example, it was argued all the way up until 550 BC that the Earth was obviously spherical until people started to realize things such as the rotation of the moon, the rotation of the sun. It really didn't like coagulate and coagulate with the fold of the Earth, meaning that obviously the Earth would have to be flat because if it wasn't flat, then that would mean that everything that we know and all gravity as we know it would be incorrect as we see it.
Okay.
Can I give my opinions?
Sure. This
So
is Rinks
yes, sir.
or
Yes,
Rickson.
sir.
I can't really say that acronym. I'm saying it just from the way I think I should say it. But
You could call me whatever you want, boss.
well, I'm just going by the names that I see in Discord, so that's how I'm referring to you.
Bara. So, in my opinion, I think the Earth is round. Now, does anyone have any questions as to why and specific questions?
I disagree with you actually.
Do you have
Sorry,
any specific questions?
I'm really radical about this topic because, like, as you can see, the Earth was actually disproven to be round back in the 700 and
I'm not really wanting this to be a debate, so I'm going to leer away from kind of a confrontational kind of a discussion. I'm really looking just to get information from people who actually people who are advocates of the flat Earth concept. So, if we can continue with that, that would be great. I'd like to ask my next question, and it would be: were you brought up to accept flat Earth? Was this something in your family that was being brought out? Was it something that you learned as you grew up from a family kind of perspective?
I would say that as a child, I wasn't really brought up to, the idea of a flat Earth. However, as I grew up, got a bit taller, got a bit older, my heart grew a bit colder. Obviously, I'm thinking, is the Earth really round? Because if it did spin, then we would all be falling right now. It didn't make sense in my head. It's like it didn't make sense. So I called a little coagulation of a meeting with some of my friends. And we actually, do you know who Theodore Bagwell is?
Okay.
Okay. I ask you a question. Do you know who Theodore Bagwell is?
I do not.
He was actually one of the very first
the first flat earther.
Yeah, he was the first flat earther, and he really shapes my views as who I am today. So, like,
now, here's why I believe some people believe in flat Earth, and it's because, well, there's a number of reasons, including the mistrust of authorities, because people don't like to understand how, they don't like to admit how they're not in power, and in fact, there's other higher authorities, including governments and NASA, and some people truly believe that the Earth is flat, and they don't trust that it's round, like partly because the governments are hiding the truth, and another reason can be the misunderstanding of society, because they might say the Earth ground, it looks flat to me, so they assume the whole Earth must be flat, like how the horizon is, and also, like religious or ancient beliefs, can be tied to expectations of people, and like skepticism as a mindset, and like optical illusions.
Okay.
It shouldn't be a curved surface, partly because it was carved.
Yeah.
How can you walk across
Yeah.
without you being on a slope? And some may argue that's because the spherical dimensions is calculated by pi r squared, which is pi radius squared.
Yeah.
And pi is 3.1.
Okay. Again, I don't want to turn this into a debate. We
This
can
is not-
argue.
It's not a debate.
But you're bringing up concepts of reasonings for it being one side, which is going to instigate. It's going to instigate a debate, which I don't want this to be. I just want this to be a discussion from a flat Earth perspective, to get their input on reasonings why they went down that path. So aspects of anything else in the context of this communication, to me, is out of the aspect of what I would like to talk about. And talking about anything about, the flat this or excuse me, it's round because of this, it's round because of that. I would like to try and avoid that if possible. So I'd like to ask my next question, which is, was there something in your life that was a stepping point for you following the flat Earth? Like, I'm kind of wondering. This is a big question that I usually have. Is I'm kind of wondering what is the I can't think of the words I want to use, but I'm kind of thinking, what was the thing, like, if you did believe in the globe Earth before and you believe in the flat Earth now, I'm kind of wondering...
what was the catalyst?
The catalyst, yes, that's a good word to use.
Yes, I can actually answer that question for you, Peter, because before this, I was a round earther. However, obviously, as you grow, you meet more people, and for me, it was my beautiful wife. I met my wife, and she told me, not all things in this world are round. And by that I mean this earth. This earth is actually round. Daddy Mary Buddhi. Now I'm just saying that the world, it's not round at all. Because if you think about it, as my wife once told me, all good things in life are flat.
Okay, so you're saying that it actually was your wife was the one who really made you look at it more as an advocate, something that you felt strongly about, and it was what was it, communication with her, or was it just her feeling that way?
No, it was more of a as we were communicating more. She's beginning to tell me her beliefs. Like, for some reason, it really resonated with me, Peter.
Okay.
It really resonated with me. And I decided to do my own research into it. If you know about the ancient society called the Therians, if you know about them, they're actually one of the first flat Earth societies. Like, they really prospered. If you see the 7 wonders of the world, you would understand what I mean. You know what I mean, Peter?
Yeah. Okay.
Can I give my opinion?
Well, is it going to be your premise of why you don't think what AJ is saying and why it should be something looked at from a globe perspective, or is it you just making a general comment about what he said?
No, it's giving someone else's opinions that I know very well, and it's my boyfriend, and I'm in here to learn really about, flat Earth as a whole, because in my opinion, I believe that the Earth is round, but to some extent, I do believe that it's flat at the same time, and that's because, well, my boyfriend Fedorius, he's a flat earther. He grew up in a flat Earth society, and I'm just trying to learn more. And obviously, we learn on a daily basis, inshallah. And he's obviously Christian, and in Genesis 1, in the beginnings, God creates the heavens and the earths, and now the earth was formless and empty, and that can be a connotation to how the earth isn't actually round and it's flat. And people look at YouTube videos on forums and they say the earth's flat because they distrust other people's opinions, and it could be because of social identity and community as a whole. And I may have repeated this point, but I'm in here because I want to make my boyfriend Fedorius proud, because he's a flat earther and also a feminist, and I'm like, I want to relate to him on a basis somehow. I want to have a conversation we can talk about, something to do other than just make fun all the time and just be together. Sometimes, and to do so, I feel like getting involved with his hobbies would be alright. And this is a learning curve for me. And although I do know facts about how Earth can be interpreted as being round, I do also know that it's not a myth that the Earth's flat. Partly because if you look at clouds in the sky, how are they curving? People use these special cameras and they do these special experiments to prove that the Earth's round. But then again, how can we trust it? And in my opinion, we can't. We should always be skeptical about things, and we should always not trust
Mm,
a thing we see on the internet. Partly because I can create something on
mm,
the internet. AJ over here can create something on the internet. You can create something on the
mm.
internet, and you know we cannot trust it.
Now, if I may intrude, if I may intrude, if you don't mind me intruding.
And always leave it, dude.
Thank you. Now, what I have to say is like, if you really think about it, that's like a bit like this man I know, Gertrude. Now, Gertrude, he wasn't really advocate for round earth until I explained to him how many centimeters are in 5 inches. So he really thought about that. Now, Gertrude over here, he got the reference of 5 centimeters are in 5 inches, 16.4 centimeters. Now, Gertrude here, we did a little experiment. We had to rock climb on this cliff, per se, and like, essentially, we had a lot of fun on the rock climbing trip, but that's besides the point. As you can see, we stuck a camera at the top of the cliff, put it in panoramic mode, and the world was flat. The world flat, meaning that if you really think about it on a 1-to-1 scale, if you think about it, I am in love with my wife and the world is flat. Two statements that go together like bread and butter.
That is wonderful. And may I include as in the early Egyptian and Mesopotamian thought, the world was portrayed as a disk flowing in the ocean, a similar model found in the Homeric account in the 8th century BC, before Christ, which is a long time ago because it was found near East, and there was part of a actual pyramid in the ocean that must have been chipped away due to homeostasis and everything, and it was found in the ocean, and it was actually an histogram and a diagram of what ancient Egyptians thought Earth was like, and the Israelites also imagined Earth to be a disk floating on water with an armed firmament above it, separated from the heavens, and the sky was in fact a solid dome with the sun, moon, and planets and stars embedded in it. And now this can also be, you know, it can also be further diagnosed with the theory how all the continents were once one and we lived in a green land, and the whole of Earth as we know it was an actual island instead of having different countries and different places around it. Earth was one, and there's a famous quote which goes by, "Of the blood which ran and rolled forth freely out of his wounds, they made the sea, where they formed the firm earth together, and laid in the sea in a ring round about her, and it may seem a hard thing to most men to cross over it." And now you can speculate and actually analyze this quote, and although it's Old English, you can translate it into saying, you know, the earth was a ring, and her being Earth, as the Earth is usually described as a woman, categorically in the English dictionary. And that's because it's trying to say that most men can't get their heads over the Earth being flat. And that quite, to be honest, can be due to like beliefs, them growing up. But if you take a lighted candle in the room and set it, you may expect the light to light the entire interior, unless something should hinder it. Though the room can be quite large, if you take an apple and hang it close to the flame, so near that it's heated, the apple will darken nearly half the room or even more. However, if you hang the apple near a wall, it will not get hot, and the candle will light up the whole house, and the shadow on the wall where the apple hangs will be scarcely half as large as the apple itself. From this, you can infer that the earth is circled round, but if you were to put the apple under it, you would see it would all light up, meaning it can be a bold embodiment of the sun and the earth, showing how the earth is actually one, and the only reason why we have day and night cycles is because the sun moves and the earth doesn't.
Okay, so we have all that information. I'd like to ask my next question, which is, was there anything that stood out as a questionable, excuse me, I'll say that again. Was there anything that
It's
stood
okay,
out
man.
as questionable that you had difficulty with and flat earth appeared to
Um,
be the answer?
no, I, I, I gotta bring this because like, if you, sorry about that. That was a voice crack. But sorry about that. Could you repeat that question for me one more time?
I was asking, was there anything that stood out as questionable that you had difficulty with and flat earth appeared to be the answer?
Okay, I'll take over here because I think AJ needs another few minutes to expand on his answer, and it sounds like he's not comfortable. So, the question you asked, I believe, is to be interpreted as, did Flat Earth help me through some hard times and difficult moments and, beliefs that other people had? And in my opinion, yes. And like I said, I'm still learning. But my boyfriend grew up in a household full of actual round earthers, and, you know, they brought him down on his opinions, and he was kind of shown as the outcast of the family for having a different belief. And in my opinion, that's utterly wrong and disrespectful. And, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. And, when they have their own opinions, some people may, cut them off and, just bully them. And, being a flat earther can be hard, as majority of Earth believe that it's round. And, you know, as in my opinion, everyone deserves the right to their own opinion. And, it's just unfair some of the, the treatment that flat earthers receive because, in my opinion, it's just snakes in the grass. And, you can never really judge someone on an opinion that they made because, to be honest, it's their opinion.
Well, see, I gotta totally agree with that. How do I pronounce your name? Rickson. Um, what I gotta say to that, however, is I like that snakes in the grass analogy because, as you can see, it was like a thing where it's like it's a thing where it's like yo, and then I was like thinking where automatically it just seems like a case of you look outside past the horizon, you don't see no curve. You look outside into the horizon, however, everything merges into one. So I think it's a case of if you think about it, the earth it truly is flat. Because back in the day, me and you, baby, we used to have fun. Until you delivered that baby, that's not my son. And then I thought about that. And then as you can see, it says here, some historians do not view Augustine's scriptural commentaries as endorsing any particular cosmological model, instead endorsing that Augustine has shared the common view of his contemporaries that the Earth is actually spherical. With this line of endorsement, it says that De Gensi ad Litteram, CPE, not Shaft, responding to writers like Leo Ferrari and Augustine as endorsing that the Earth was flat. As you can see, this was back in 650 AD. AD, by the way, where they were like discovering things about cosmologically, and they just generally believe that the Earth was round. And as you can see, have you ever heard of this theory of the NASA moon landing being fake?
Yeah,
I'm talking to you, man.
I've
Hold
heard
on,
that.
hold on there, riled skin. I've got a question for Peter. Oh, thank you, riled skin. Peter, Peter, are you there?
I'm there. I'm listening. Please ask your question.
Now, what I was saying, have you heard of the theory of the Earth being the moon landing being fake?
I have.
Now, what I'll tell you about this was that Apollo 11 was generally it was not sent into space. It was actually a commercial setting where they essentially they got shadows on other they essentially they had the sun in the sky. It was all green screen and like the way that they faked the zero gravity was that they were actually underwater and they had really good visual effects to basically erase any bubbles, any of this, any of that. And then what came from this was that the flat Earth was essentially fizzled out to a minority. And you know what they say about minorities. If you can't beat them, then you gotta eat them. So that essentially means that the school of Anotich, which sought to conquer the pagan cosmology of the Greeks, um, they wanted to restore back to original cosmology, and then this essentially led to what we now believe the Earth to be round because of the propaganda that NASA decided to spread around. But as we can go back in history, there was prophets such as the Ephraim of the Syrian, the heterosexual homilies, or Jacob of the Sikh. And as you can see, these guys were one of the four great church fathers of the Eastern Church of the Archbishop Constantinople. He essentially greatly exfoliated the skin because sometimes your sister, you know, when you're like your sister makes you do skincare, but sometimes it can look decently good. And then essentially, what we're talking about now is like the Earth being round is like you being forced to do skincare. You don't want to do it.
Can
but
I
you think
can I expand on that point, Good Street Digbuff?
oh, of course.
So NASA. Now this is a conspiracy theory. This which is it's been proven to be fake, but I'll explain it for people who don't know. And um, the story goes in 1969, Apollo 11 was sent to the moon, and people believe it's fake because of the space race. Now, this is a famous race against the Soviet Union to boost national pride and morale during the Cold War. As whichever country got to the moon first, which is out of the USA and the Soviet Union, which is also known as which is also known as Russia by now, and it's believed that it's faked for the motivation. And people also think that it's fake because there's no stars in the sky with the pictures. The flag appears to wave, which doesn't make sense, and that's because wind isn't in space because space is a vacuum, and the only things that can move in a vacuum is electromagnetic waves, which are invisible to the human eye, and there's shadows at odd angles, proving artificial light may have been the case. And it's also believed that from the movie A Space Odyssey that was made in 2001, they believe that the moon landing was faked and filmed in a studio there. And also, people think we weren't technologically advanced back then in 1960s to send men to the moon. But there's also mountains of evidence that proves how it's real, and even Russia, which was the US's main rival, they tracked down the Apollo missions and they didn't disrupt them, partly because instead of it being a space race, it actually was just like a big step for humankind and mankind in general. And although it was a race, you know, it's good to know that Russia didn't disrupt them, let them do their thing. And there's also like you can see with modern like satellites and telescopes, you can even see equipment left behind on the moon from Earth, proving that mankind did go to the moon. And I just want a quick question, Peter. You said you were streaming this on
Yes,
something. May I ask where and what channel?
YouTube.
And what is the YouTube channel by any chance?
Uh, 1 second.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with the family, we would all be quite interested in viewing us per se. Peter, may I ask you a question, Peter?
You can ask me a
I
question.
said. So, Peter, what do you believe in, Peter?
I'm not here to talk about my beliefs.
No, I'm asking you now. It's not
I understand you're asking me,
that's
but
not,
I just don't feel comfortable talking about my beliefs.
no, that's not something where you can. Wait, I understand, but I'm asking you, Peter,
you,
and you
you,
don't say
you,
no to AJ.
you can ask me. I just don't prefer to do that.
Now,
Okay?
Peter,
Okay?
it's simple as
Right,
simple
guys,
as
let's de-escalate. Let's de-escalate. I believe that we should speak at one at a time, and then if Peter feels uncomfortable to answer the question, he has the right to say no comment, or that he feels uncomfortable answering. Now, because I don't really like this, voice over voice, mouth over mouth kind of situation we have
yeah,
over
like
here.
Rink Skinks. I agree with you, Rink Skinks. Like you're amazing. Thank you for that.
So good, so good. Now,
But
anyways, Peter, what is the YouTube channel this will be going on?
I'm sorry, I did not hear your question.
What is the YouTube channel that this will be going on?
I just pasted it in the chat.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I have another question I'd like to ask, and it's got to do with the people you know. Do your friends also follow the flat Earth community? Is it something that's let's say encompassing in your social network, or is it just some people who are, some people are not, or is nobody involved in your social community, flat earthers?
AJ, I think you should take this one.
so essentially, could you repeat that one again for me?
I was asking if there's anybody in your social network, any of your friends,
Hold
are
on,
they?
hold on. I'm getting a phone call. Rink Skinks, I would appreciate it if you could take over this one for me.
Okay, can you please repeat the question? My apologies.
I'm just asking if any of your friends are flat earthers.
Okay, so some friends are flat earthers and some aren't, but we get along because at the end of the day, you know, I like to surround myself with people that believe in what they believe and can respect other opinions without, causing a commotion. And, I've obviously my boyfriend's a flat earther, I'm hopefully, going to succumb to his beliefs so we can have a conversation, but I also have friends who are round earthers who believe that, earth is round and, because of gravitational fields and how Earth's magnetic field is at 9.8 newtons per kilograms, and how compasses work, how just like the standard formalization of Earth in all quite honest and respect, and people have different opinions, and they think that flat earthers and round earthers can't be friends, but in all reality, they can be more than friends. You know, they could be like close friends, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about opinions. Anyways,
Sorry
AJ,
guys, about that. I've just got someone on the phone who wants to just say something. If you don't mind talking.
Hi.
Oh well, isn't. Um. One more time. One more time. One more time. One more time. One more time.
I think he's breaking. I think they're breaking off. No. AJ, if you don't have anything to add on, I don't mind if Peter can move on, but
Okay,
obviously.
yeah. Well, let's wrap it up there. I don't have any more questions. Those were all the questions I had. I'd like to thank everybody for joining in and everybody talking about the
Peter,
to-
Peter, I'm gonna need you to name it where you are, Peter.
Get out of me!
Okay, well, I'm just going to end things there. I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. It seems very childish. If you want to be that way, that's fine. I thought you were trying to be a little bit more adult, and it's apparent that you don't want to be, so I'm going to end things there, so...
Peter, why aren't you ending things there, man?
Peter, why are you ending things there, Peter?
Peter, man, why aren't you ending things there? Oi, Anas, why does Ibuka look
Okay,
like CapCut editor?
I'm just gonna.
You look like a comic editor.
Okay. Can you just be quiet for a
Like those
second,
guys who made
please?
the Power Rangers on top
Hey, guys,
Can you guys be quiet for just a second?
Can you
Go on,
explain the
go on.
5 principles of
Speak your piece,
Socrates?
speak your piece.
Okay, can you guys just be
Fall in
quiet?
love.
Can you
Can you explain 5 theories of power?
can you guys be quiet for just a minute?
Yeah, we're gonna be quiet. Just a second, we're gonna be
Yeah, he
quiet.
does. Be quiet. Seriously.
Guys, talking to
Be quiet, be quiet.
Okay, like
Okay, guys, be
Wait,
quiet.
be quiet, man. Be quiet. What are you guys doing?
okay, this is a bit chaotic.
No, seriously,
Wait, be quiet, man. Be quiet. What are you guys doing?
As I stated, I
No,
wanted.
seriously, you just
Peter, man,
be-
be quiet, Peter. You're meant to be
Be
speaking.
quiet, be quiet. Let him speak.
I just turned.
Let him land now, please. Just let him land.
Let him cook.
This
Let him
is
cook now.
this is turning to be
Huh?
very unpleasant.
Let him speak.
You know
And I
Peter,
think
Peter.
I think I'm just
Yeah, I'll let you
I
speak
think I'm just
Hey,
gonna leave.
hey.
Worry
I
about
wanna-
it. Worry
I
about
want
it.
to thank you
Worry
guys
about
for
it.
talking. I'm gonna leave things there. I'm gonna say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Peter,
No,
Peter,
stay.
stay.
Please stay.
Peter,
Peter, if you stay, I will literally, Peter, I will literally roleplay Lil Phoebe under the desk right now if you stay.
Peter, can you do an Ezekiel the Fat performance for us?
Yo, Pete.
Okay, so I ended things there. As you can see, it got a little bit annoying. I didn't want to come up with a word that was being very offensive or aggressive, but it certainly was very annoying. I don't know why at the end it seemed everybody just went chaotic, went off the boards. That's where, the aspects of listening to people explain things become somewhat a negative consequence because of that interaction. So I was not happy at all with how they wanted to end and how they, with the end, after that barrage of audio, for lack of a better way of saying that was done for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. I don't know how long it was, but it was just a really long barrage of just, streams of audio that I just couldn't understand why they did that. It was very, very, very confusing. And at the end, as I was trying to conclude things, it seemed like nobody wanted to listen. And that I don't understand. I was being very polite to them, very, very courteous to them, listening to their comments. I wasn't trying to be offensive. And I'm almost getting the impression at the end that they were offended. And I don't know why, because I don't think I was being offensive. So it caught me off guard. Respect to the content, it was somewhat very... somewhat, it wasn't as clear as I was expecting it to be. There were some things that they talked about with respect to, let's say, ancient theological kinds of concepts, where they talked about, the explanation, I guess, of a flat Earth did exist. That this is what people were indicating was the state of our Earth, for lack of a better way. I don't want to say planet, because obviously back then they didn't know the concept of a planet itself. But again, they're saying that people were saying it was flat. And, say that's true, they can say that, but they didn't indicate the aspects of, was there any validation or verification of those claims, just the aspect that it was a claim. It would have been nice if they could have explained how these people came to these conclusions, or if it was just something, let's say, in the theology for the particular region that people had caught on to. And they didn't want to clarify exactly the specifics of it. So I'm wondering about that myself in general, about the clarity behind that statement. A lot of the answers were basically general, answers of feel it's flat Earth because that's the way they feel. And there was one person who, for some reason, he said at the beginning that he was a person who believed in the Earth, but it almost sounded that he was basically advocating flat Earth. And that kind of caught me off guard too, because I'm kind of wondering, didn't you say you're a person who believes in the Earth? And then it almost appeared that he was explaining things from a flat Earth perspective. He did indicate that his boyfriend was a flat Earth person, and that he was trying to get more aligned with, communication with him. And I don't know if it was him coming to a aspect of just trying to be more interactive with his boyfriend that made him want to look at flat Earth more seriously in that light. I'm not sure, but it kind of looks like that's the way I saw it from that perspective. So like I said, it did catch me off guard, and we did get some information per se, but not as concrete as I would have liked it to be. It seemed like there was some bit of jumping around a little bit, and aspects of explaining things in a way that for me was not very, very clear. So sometimes it actually was a little bit difficult to actually understand exactly what some people were saying. So it was a little bit confusing, and maybe the way this was started probably was not the best thing, because my whole interactions I've been putting in place was basically one-on-one, and this was more of a group effort. And that may not be the best way to do this type of activity, because for me it was supposed to be really a one-on-one kind of conversation, and as you can hear, it actually turned out to be a much more involved communication activity. Anyways, that's that. I'll leave it at that, and I'm going to conclude this live stream. I'm hoping that you guys are enjoyable with the live streams. I'm hoping that you can get some sort of want to actually listen to this particular one, that you get some sort of ability to sees things that maybe you don't see, understand why people see things the way they see, and it helps you out better to understand the way other people look at things, and it gives you something more concrete to actually look at the way you look at life. And if it gives you that capability, that's great. If you would like to join my channel, that would be great. That would be fantastic, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people to join my channel, trying to get up to that 1,000 subscriber list. for my channel, so that way I can get things activated on my channel. If you can do that, it would be great. And if you can watch as much video as you can watch, that'd be fantastic too, because not only subscriptions are required, but it's also actually watch hours, which is quite a bit. I think it's actually 4,000 hours of watch time, and that's quite a bit. And I'm hoping people can watch as much as they can. If you can do that, that would be fantastic. I'm going to leave things there, and I'm going to thank you very much. Bye-bye.